his neck, you know, or tentacles coming out of the sand to suck this guy down. You know,
I mean, even today with like the SpaceX stuff, or the guys going up to the stratosphere and doing like skydiving and stuff, it's like it's not quite the same thing, you know.
But there was I can't remember a sense of national pride any greater than when they landed on the moon.
That was really an incredible moment.
Because the Russians beat us into space.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was just that, you know, hey, just look what we did as a race of people.
We just flew to the friggin' moon.
You couldn't, you couldn't. I mean, I couldn't leave the TV set. I didn't go to the bathroom. I just sat there and watched the TV.
With less technology than in your wristwatch.
Yeah, but still, the math, they calculate the takeoff and the landing and the orbits and all that, you know, it's insane. Right? Yeah, there's a lot of, well, hopefully the's not a giant mountain range and a conifer on the side of the moon that we're about to
They almost crashed.
I bet they did.
They almost crashed because there was a bunch of rocks. Too small to see in the telescopes.
Yeah.
And Armstrong had to land it by hand.
Oh, wow.
And during training, he like failed 4 out of 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Tagged for the because it was apparently a very difficult thing, and they didn't anticipate having to do it.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
But,
yeah, and they came back and they stuck them in quarantine things, and you were all going to die of moon sickness.
it was 30 days.
It was incredibly long.
But, you know, you didn't know.
It's like Ebola. Nobody knows what Ebola is. Everybody's just grasping at straws going, what the fuck is this stuff?
Let's see, culturally,
Or AIDS.
you had Woodstock, you had Altamont, where a big Rolling Stones concert where somebody got shot and they still haven't solved the murder, even though it was caught on film.
The Woodstock had all the Hells Angels crap going on too.
Now
That was Altamont.
Oh, that was Altamont.
there was
What happened with Altamont was that the Rolling Stones decided to put on a free concert there. And they decided to hire the Hells Angels as security.
But that was common then. That was actually common.
Really?
Yeah, they did security and all kinds.
You had all these uptight bikers and all these hippies spacing out, and it just wasn't a good mix. Because I've seen, you go watch the movie Give Me Shelter.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. And I had a friend of mine who was a big Rolling Stones fan, so he played it for me. Great music, but just really sad what happened. They stabbed a black guy right in front of the stage while Mick Jagger
The music really, back then, that was really edgy, and if you listen to that, your parents thought you were doing drugs.
Like, seriously, like as someone not raised in this decade, but like Blair will testify, I'm a music enthusiast. Like you listen to the stuff in 58, 59, 60, then suddenly it's just like, like, you know, with like bands like Black Sabbath coming out of nowhere. Granted, their first album was not like everything else they released after that, but you know, it's just like the sound is totally changing, and you like part of me wonders like, what was that catalyst?
Well, I equate it to today's the stuff today would be like equivalent to like the gangster rap and the pulling the pants down around the crack of your butt.
Yeah.
You know, it was something. Some people did it just to get attention and to piss off the establishment.
Yeah. Same thing with the hippies.
One explanation
They wanted to say we're different. We're not going to live your
It's a band called the Velvet Underground. I'm sure you're familiar with it. I don't remember who it was who said this, but it was a famous female star of the era. Said that the Velvet Underground's second album, I think it was only sold 200-something copies, but everyone who bought it had a band. And that's how it all changed at once.
Yeah. Well, you know, I would imagine there's certain things of the culture too, like the need to make something sound nothing like their parents, or like the fact that these drugs are sounding like they do help people become creative sometimes. It makes new sounds. Like Hendrix, I'm sure, probably would not have been as creative.
We got to bear in mind.
I think the biggest catalyst with heavy metal would be Hendrix and the Who, because the Who were the first group to use Marshall stacks on stage. Hendrix took the Marshall stacks, and then they added fuzz tone and did all these psychedelic things with it. And then you had all these and Eric Clapton, and Cream.
Well,
those three groups were really the basis, and then you had other people like Jeff Beck with the Jeff Beck group, Jimmy Page with Led Zeppelin, and then Black Sabbath and Deep Purple.
Well, what set it all off was the British invasion.
Right.
The British invasion was the basis of everything. That was the launch pad.
Yeah.
And then when the Brits all came over and they all got rich, this filthy freaking rich, because all you had to do was talk like this bloke, and you were rich. You sung, you were English, you were rich.
Now, to be fair, like, the Stones get a lot of love, the Beatles get a lot of love, but my favorite band from that decade is the Kinks. And like, they had some hits in the U.S.
Doors.
But they just never really took off like the Beatles did.
Another one, that the Beatles overshadowed everything. I mean, we were there, we got to listen to all these songs come out, but the Beatles were just a big giant vulture that's hung over everything and just like,
the Beatles
were
everything in the 60s, man.
Now, you had said that you thought that kind of 60s ended in 74, where I've heard a lot of people have said that the ending was after Woodstock and Manson Brothers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways you can draw it. I mean, it's a matter of opinion, no matter how you slice it.
It was more
kind of
defined.
like hippies went to that extreme.
It was more defined by Nixon than anything else. Because when Nixon was gone, everything just changed.
Overnight, everything became different. I mean, it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like the World Trade Center.
It's sort of like everybody's there to protest, and all of a sudden there's nothing left to protest.
Now, I was born when Nixon was president, and then, I was tiny when he was impeached, so I don't remember much.
People remember the 60s as this happy time from the music and from the day-glow colors and stuff like that. But I just recently read that during the Nixon administration alone, there were 248 buildings bombed in the United States. There was riots every frigging day. There was turmoil in the streets. There was people getting shot left and right. There was the Symbionese Liberation Army and this Liberation Army.
But you also, was a time when you had a lot of blacks coming to, we're equal terms, and that was like the whole start of the 70s where they're empowering themselves, and they're almost becoming like mob in their own ways. With the blaxploitation films and stuff, the stuff that I've seen. But they're controlling neighborhoods, and they're doing forceful things like bombing white businesses or whatever, to get back at the establishment.
But see, the thing is that back then, a lot of that stuff was swept under the rug. Got to keep the status quo. You don't let everybody know about it. It doesn't happen.
Well, 2 days after the Kent State Massacre, you've heard the Kent State Massacre.
Yeah.
Everybody here has.
Yes.
There was even more black people, and I don't remember the name of it myself, killed on a campus in Mississippi, shot in a police riot. Never heard about that one, have you?
No. Because they weren't white kids.
They weren't white kids.
No.
Oh, this is
And then you had busing and all that desegregation stuff, and
It was just a lot.
it was intense. I was in Memphis when Martin Luther King got shot.
Yeah. So do you think the hippie movement helped persuade the equal rights thing to become a real?
It definitely.
But they were protesting before the hippie movement.
Well, we were talking about that too. Like we were talking about the song for what it's worth, and you heard that song.
Yeah.
There's something happening here.
Yeah.
That was about the riots on the Sunset Strip.
No, it wasn't.
What
It
was
was a
happening?
protest of a curfew that was put on and was put in place in San Francisco to shut down the gay bars. And I didn't believe it either because I did a parody of that song. And I went back and researched it. I thought it was a war protest song, and it's not.
That's kind of what I thought, but it's
Everybody thinks that.
Now, what's that sound?
And it was a protest against curfews that were put in place to shut. It was a 10 o'clock curfew to shut down gay bars.
The 60s
Stonehill Ride
was mostly a really good time to be a kid, but it had its dark side too. I remember being about 7 years old and looking up to my mom right after the news was on. I said, "Mom, what's a body count?"
Oh, geez. I grew up that way. I grew up in Goleta, California, which is next to Santa Barbara. In '71, they bombed the Bank of America in Ala Vista, and I was there. I was there when it happened, about 10 years old. But I remember the hippies. I remember. I remember when Richard. This is one thing I remember. I remember Richard. What was it? Either Ronald Reagan was doing a speech at the Santa Barbara Fairgrounds, and we went to the zoo. And so here we are, we're trying, and we got blocked by these hippie protesters. When we started doing peace signs out the window, they let us through. That was one of the coolest memories I had. That happened, I think it was in 3rd grade. That was about 1970, but I grew up in that type of hippie.
I was this close to going to Vietnam.
Oh, you got called up and then they canceled?
They got rid of the draft about 3 months before they pulled the numbers for my year, and my number was 40.
And which year was that?
That was 73.
That's 73.
So they cut it off like November, December of 72. They said we got enough. We're doing one of the draft, and then they pulled the numbers, and then my number was 40. I was gone.
Yeah.
I had let me put it this way. I had already made plans to join the Navy.
Yeah.
I was not going to be a ground pounding drunk in Vietnam, up to my belly button in a rice paddy.
That's what my father did during Korea. He was like, I'm joining the Air Force. I'm never going to fly a plane because I'm too big, my eyesight's too bad.
Yeah. Did you have wearing glasses back then? Keeper, were you wearing glasses back then?
Actually, I was not.
Okay.
No, I'll take it back. In 73, but yes, I was. I was wearing
So
glasses.
you probably wouldn't have gone to battle. You probably would have been something behind the scenes. You could have wound up a cook or something like that.
So my
No,
dad,
they had people going to the battle with glasses.
yeah,
My
dad had
They give these
My dad
glasses
had-
look like his.
Yeah.
My dad had
glasses.
My dad had glasses. He went in the army,
Big old-
but
big old
he just
thick
said, his decision was do the special forces
Those glasses.
because they spend a lot more money training those people, and they don't want to waste that money, so to speak. You know, so
Well, they wasted a lot of special forces in Vietnam. A lot of them died. Green Berets and everything. They died.
My stepfather was a paratrooper in
Right.
1967, 1968.
Right.
And we don't like to talk about it, but a lot of stuff went down there. Yeah.
My, like I said, the 60s were a great time to be a kid. The Three Stooges had their big revival then.
That's true.
Yes, I remember that.
And I am probably the only person maybe in this city that has seen the Three Stooges perform live.
Really?
didn't
I
get
saw
to see
them perform in either 1965 or 1966. I'm pretty sure it was 66.
Was
I
he
was in
Rachel
kindergarten.
Curley or?
No, it was
No,
Curly
Curly
was
was
dead.
dead, yeah.
Curly